Okay. I think we're live, Chris. I'm just going to check our page to make sure we are live. We are now streaming live to Facebook. All right, Chris, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, hello. I am live here with an MRA student, Chris Clapp, who is a co-creator and social worker. She is also the sister of Katie Clapp, and together they have created this incredible space in Richmond, Ontario. It's called Willow Wellness, and I've had the honor of visiting their beautiful space a number of times, and they have created such an incredible community. You guys have so many different services, like really different offerings. We'll talk about all the stuff that you guys are doing in a little bit. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Taryn. It's always so nice to be in your presence.
Yeah, it's just so lovely getting to connect with you. So Chris is how many months in now? You started this journey with the MRA in March.
Yes.
Yeah, and you started with the practitioner training. Now you are about a third way through. I think we're a third way through the coach training.
Yeah.
And I would love to chat with you about your experience, because of course you are a social worker. You've got tons of schooling behind you. You've got tons of experience behind you. What drew you to the MRA?
You did, first of all. Honestly, your passion, your commitment, the program itself, just when I really looked carefully at it, was just so packed with really starting with your own journey, right? So the practitioner piece of really looking, taking that deep dive for myself, first of all, and unpacking more of that. And I've done a lot of that through the years, but it's an ongoing journey, right? So to be able to have that space where I'm seen as whole and get to be held in this safe community of other people was really what drew me. I think initially, and coming as a social worker, empowerment is really one of my fundamental beliefs, and your approach is all of that as well. And but even it certainly, it felt still a little bit different for me, so it allowed me to keep deepening my own personal growth, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. I think what I love about practitioner training is that people can be anywhere on their personal growth journey and get what they need out of that training.
Yeah, totally. And certainly the Mind Rebel approach, the ways of setting up, your Mind Rebel and your authentic self, and that mind, body, spirit kind of all in alignment, that really, really resonated to me. That whole way of seeing myself and the people I serve. That's just such a beautiful way of, the icky parts of us are not bad. They're part of us. And so we need to dive into that and really be with those parts of ourselves, right? As we want to move into that state of alignment. So I really love the fact that we're not dismissing that. We're actually really getting to know those parts of ourselves in really deep ways.
Yeah. And really it is bringing the shadow parts of ourselves and the parts that we could feel very shameful about. And it's like humanizing it all.
Yeah. Completely. And I think that's something we don't linger with enough. So I think sometimes in all sorts of mental health practitioners work in different ways, but sometimes we don't sit with that enough. And we try to move on maybe too quickly. And so I really felt like there's an honoring of that and getting to know. And at the same time, there's a sense of momentum forward, right? So, and I think that momentum forward comes because we are able to honor those parts of ourselves too.
Yeah. And Chris, you and I have had so many conversations about, the differences between therapy and coaching. And you have really become our expert now, and our in-house go-to expert to help us really establish those boundaries between therapy and the coaching world. And we've had such beautiful conversations, and I'd love to actually just have one right here with you.
Absolutely.
About I love your perspective on human beings and on wholeness, and bringing that into the world of therapy, and just the way that you approach your clients, the way you approach your work. What would you say are the or here's what I want to ask. What would you say are some of the pieces that drew you into your practice?
Okay. That's a big question.
It is a big question.
What drew me into my practice with respect to also bringing in the mind rebel approach?
Yeah.
It honestly is it's that whole way of helping somebody get to know those shadows parts of themselves. And it's neat when you see the light come on, that shame piece that you mentioned, that we don't have to sit in shame. We can bring that forward and look at that together, because I know that the person I'm sitting with is capable of doing that. Right. And so I do think that's part of what excites me about it is really using that approach much. And that's something that's been different since I've been doing the program now, is really intentionally bringing that in. And I can see how powerful it is for people when we get to hang out with those little people, right? And all genders. I've had men who have it's really resonated with them too, which is so cool. And
very cool.
At the same time, again, I'm very interested with folks, the people I work with, that there's somewhere they want to get to. They are wanting to move somewhere, and it's not dismissing those dark pieces, but it still is that there's somewhere they want to go to, so that shadow self doesn't sit in the driver's seat all of the time.
Yeah. I actually really loved how you described it. It's both a deep honoring of the shadow and the shameful parts that we all have inside of us. It's a deep honoring of that, and a forward momentum. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, because there's something, what I've kind of learned through the years is, if we allow people to keep telling the same story over and over again, it becomes deeply embedded as their truth. And as a guide with somebody, I think friends can be great people to sit there and allow you. Sometimes we really do need to tell that story over and over again. But when you're coming to see me, it tells me that storyline isn't working for you anymore. And if I allow you to just sit with that same story all the time, that forward momentum doesn't get to happen. So my job with you is to be that guide to help take you forward.
And is it to rewrite the story? Because I know you do so much story work in your session. So is it to rewrite the story?
It's to deepen, it's to thicken the story for sure, because we can often see ourselves maybe as the victims in our story, or other people as victims in this story. And so I bring in a narrative approach of thickening that story, where maybe you've had this really crappy thing happen to you. Many of us have had these things that really will stick out for us, right? But we might not have recognized the strengths that we also drew from that, because we sit with that kind of thin story about that crappiness. And so if we can thicken it to what were the things that have that held you whole and capable at that time? Who were the
Mm.
people who maybe walked with you at those times? What were the values that were really important that somehow moved you through? Then we get to deepen what that really thin story might have looked like for that person. And so the story becomes much more vibrant, and there's strengths that they can then draw to take them forward. And I mean, I'm really grateful to a Tree of Life practitioner out of Zimbabwe this year, that I was really deliberate in learning from somebody who looked different than I was, and a non-Western approach. And so that was really powerful of learning from Nazelo, Tree of Life, shout out to her, who knew that what they were doing using Western approaches was allowing their orphans who had grown up in HIV and AIDS years ago and without families, that if they allowed those kids to sit there in these stories of misery, that those kids weren't going to be able to move forward. And so how could they help them, find these stories of strength? And so she came up with this really cool approach. And so I do that now here with people in small groups, because community is also really, really important in how we do things here at Willow. And so I love to actually do group work, I would say almost more than individual, because I'm there as a guide, and everybody sitting around that table has something to offer. And we get out our crayons and we draw and we tell stories, and we link as we hear one person's story, that'll remind us of other stories. And it's really cool to see the magic that can happen between strangers, in this safe space. Yeah.
As you're talking, Chris, what I just love about you and so appreciate about you, and I feel like I knew this the moment I met you. What I love about you in the way you do your work is that never are you here and your clients here. There's never this top-down approach with you. You are so deeply honoring of the humans that you have the honor of serving. It just like it oozes from your being. And how refreshing is that to be in someone's presence like that?
Thank you. I'm imperfectly, I certainly, as many of us, right? I recognize moments when I step out of that. And that's, there's a lot of humility with this as well, but it's certainly the place that I want to live. And I see the magic when I am able to stay in that role.
Yeah. And how empowering for your clients, right? Like how empowering to be held like that, to be held as so often. And I'm sure it's not as much in the coaching world, but I'm sure in your world, often your clients will come feeling broken or feeling like there is something wrong with them. And to be in the presence of someone who's, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You are whole. You are capable, right? Like you hold people so incredibly whole.
And a lot of people aren't used to that. Certainly coming from places where we are, again, the Western approach is very much about labels, and without sitting in any judgment of people who choose medications, we're not offering up a lot more, and in real ways, I think real accessible ways. And at Willow, we're aware of that. And that's certainly part of our vision, and where we want to grow to is how to make our programming much more accessible as we go.
Mm-hmm.
And we recognize that, labels, when I see people and they come in with, I've got anxiety and depression would be some of the most common things. They see that as their identity. And that's been supported and validated by the medical community. And so when we get to kind of maybe put anxiety over here, because I don't know, you tell me how that anxiety is driving the bus, but maybe that's not your whole identity. And we need to look at how come it's showing up for you. And because it's signals, right? It's signals that our body is telling us and that our brain is telling us. And so let's get curious about that and dive into that rather than thinking this is it for you. And I think that's often what we do a lot of is we have just validated that as the person's full and only story. That's it. That's all. And it's just not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love this approach to story that you're weaving into your work. And it's that shift, like in the Mind Rebel method, we talk about the name what it is you're feeling, allow yourself to feeling it, but not with the intention of getting stuck there, with the intention of doing what our bodies were designed to do, which is to move these emotions out of our bodies so that we can shift into a broader, bigger, more beautiful, more whole perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Totally. And when people know that, and I love the name it, feel it, shift it, right? It's simple. It's simple and yet not easy necessarily.
Yeah.
But again, it gives you that permission to certainly sit in it. But again, the expectation is we can there is a momentum, there is an energy to being able to move on if we have tools and if we have options. So again, at Willow, we believe mental health, Willow is all about our mental health in the broadest perspective. So bringing people in to move, to do beautiful breath work that Katie does, to come into story time with other people in small groups, to sit outside under the trees, right? All of that is what our bodies are craving more and more, and that we maybe haven't been doing enough of, right? So it's so important to do those things, and that's part of how can we shift it. Those are some ways that we can help shift it.
Yeah. So what is the mission of Willow?
It's certainly about being seen and heard. So we want everybody coming through our doors to see our faces and to know that we see them, and that they're welcome. Through everything here, we come from a very inclusive approach. So again, like I say, we know that all genders and all folks with different sexual orientations and ability, we really tried to make this building as accessible as we can, knowing that there will be ways we still need to improve. But the mission is really about nurturing our mental wellness and so whatever ways people may come here, and hopefully they'll try a bit of everything, right? So we've got mental health memberships. And that was something that we really believed we wanted to at least offer that option for folks who had benefits. Again, we know that there's not everybody for sure, and that's something that will be part of our vision going forward about how to make it accessible. But certainly, we've got our mental health memberships, which includes groups with myself, and that then gives access to people with for movement and breath work. And again, because all of those things are things that we think are so vital to preventative mental health, right? We don't want to,
Right.
if we can start addressing this and putting time into this, it's possible that our bodies won't go into crisis down the road if we're taking that time to nurture it. And we also believe very much in collaboration here. So we have other small businesses here. So we have an amazing osteopathic practitioner, Brittany, and a physio and a Thai masseuse, and growing that community. Because again, if we can all work together with that person around their needs, that's the way that we want to work with other people here. And of course, then we've got our little cafe, because we believe good food and good coffee is vital to our mental health. So that's just another way. So we want people to also come in and slow down. So if you're coming in for a class or an appointment, grab a coffee after, stay for a while, sit under the trees. That's equally important.
Yeah. And it's you guys have just created it's stunning. Like the space itself is stunning. And the energy is so welcoming, and it's so inclusive, and you just feel like you belong there when you walk in those doors. You guys have done such an incredible job. And I know that launching this at the beginning, doing all of this and then the pandemic hitting for the last year and a half, and finally being able to open your doors. What a crazy journey you guys have been on.
It's been such a journey. And I have to give a shout out too to Sonia Kincaid and Daryl Kincaid, who really helped us with our vision, bringing it forward. So we really wanted this space to be the place that we wanted to be all the time ourselves.
Wow.
And so just having this space that feels, we wanted nature, that feeling to be, embedded throughout our walls. And they just did such a beautiful job of that. And yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a ride. It's been a little bit exhausting, continues to be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But we just believe so much wholeheartedly in this. And so we've just, there's nowhere but forward. Yeah.
So Chris, if there are people watching this and feel really drawn to you and your energy and your message and what you're saying, how can they work with you?
Yeah, great question. First, I guess there's a few different ways. Is we love conversations to begin with. So I would love for people to just, give me a call and drop in for a coffee and whether it's myself, whether it's Katie, but just being in the space is so important for us because the moment people walk through our doors, you can see that people take a breath, and there's a real response. So I would just love if people reached out to come in for a coffee. That would be just one way. Just let's get into community together. The other way is check out our website page. We've got lots of great offerings, including a teacher training coming up starting the end of September. And again, a very collaborative approach, but that it brings in our mind, body, spirit all together into that teacher training because we see all of that mind, body, spirit so valuable for us. So those would be a couple of the ways, is just reach out and let's see what's a fit for you and just become part of the Willow community.
Yeah. And what a community it is to be part of. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's so lovely. Honestly, the stories when people come in and they're like, this is what I needed.
Yeah.
This is what I needed.
Especially after the last year and a half we've just had, when community has been fractured and we have been isolated, and it's just coming into your space feels like, oh, this just like, wow, I didn't realize this is what I was missing. That it's a feeling of that.
And community is part of the antidote for our mental health. Right? It really, really is. And there's been tons of research about social isolation and that the detriment it has on our beings. We need to be with other people. So just coming together with other people where, we may have to physical distance, but we don't have to socially distance. And, we can be real and raw with each other. This is a safe and brave space for people to be.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. I mean, I could just sit and talk to you forever. I love listening to you. I love listening to your perspectives. I love listening to you talk, Chris. You are just this fountain of wisdom and knowledge. I feel so honored to have you part of the MRA and to be, I feel like learning alongside of you.
Thank you.
We have our next round of practitioner and coach training begins at the end of September. And we've got a couple spots left. And Chris, I'm wondering if anyone who's watching this kind of, sitting on the fence or drawn to, or have been drawn to the MRA, but they're not quite sure, is this for me? Is this what I need to do next? And you having just, your intention with signing up was you were just doing the practitioner training. You didn't have an intention necessarily to go on to the coach training, but here you are. Any words of wisdom that you want to impart?
Just reach out and have a conversation with somebody who's done the training or in the training. I would, welcome a conversation with anybody. They're really, this is such a powerful program. It is so well put together. There is so much integration of the knowledge and the small labs that we have, that we practice and practice and practice and get such wonderful feedback. It's stretching yourself. And so for anybody, there will be no drawbacks for anybody who comes into this program. So I have nothing but goodness to say about it.
Thank you for that, Chris. If you are watching this and you are interested, I'm going to put two links. I'm going to put Willow Wellness. I'm going to put your link up here, Chris, in the comments. And I'm also going to put the Mind Rebel Academy link. And I encourage anyone watching this to reach out if it's community that you're craving. Reach out to Chris and to Katie and enter their incredible world. Again, they're in Richmond, Ontario. And if you are watching this feeling like the MRA is your next best step, I would absolutely love for you to reach out and let's have a chat about it to see if it is in fact your next best step. Chris, thank you, thank you, thank you.